Most of us spend the first half of life trying to look like we're doing well. The right car, the right house, the right answer to "how have you been?" And then somewhere after 60, a quieter truth starts to surface, one that doesn't shout, doesn't demand to be noticed. It simply waits until you're ready to hear it. It isn't poverty that exhausts a person the most. It's the weight of having to prove every single day that your life still looks like something. You know this feeling. Maybe you've carried it for decades without a name for it. The small tightening in your chest before someone walks through your door, the quick glance around the room before they do. In this talk, we'll sit with a question that Buddhist teaching has circled for centuries, long before anyone owned a car or a house at all. What happens to a person's suffering when their sense of worth stops depending on someone else's eyes? Some traditions call it one of the oldest tangles of the human mind: gain and loss, praise and blame, fame, and its quiet opposite. All of it spinning around a single ache: the need to be seen as enough. Maybe freedom doesn't begin with having more. Maybe it begins with no longer needing anyone to notice. Part 1. Nobody is paying as much attention to you as you think. When we are young, we carry an invisible audience with us everywhere we go. We imagine they're watching. The car we drive, the house we live in, how far we've climbed, how much we've gathered, how impressive the story sounds when someone asks how we're doing. We rehearse our lives like a performance, certain that somewhere just out of sight someone is keeping score. But here is the strange thing about that imagined audience. If you ever caught up with them, really caught up, sat across from them at a quiet table, you'd find they were doing the exact same thing, worrying about their own house, their own car, their own answer to "how have you been?" The truth, the one almost no one tells you when you're young, is this: people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you fear. They are far too busy thinking about themselves. Think of the neighbor who glanced at your new car for half a second this morning. By the time she reached her own driveway, she wasn't thinking about your car at all. She was thinking about a phone call she needed to return, an ache in her knee, a grandchild she hadn't heard from in days. Not out of cruelty, not out of indifference. Simply because that is what a mind does. It returns again and again to its own unfinished business. Picture two people standing under what they each believe is a single spotlight, certain it's pointed only at them. Neither notices the other is standing in the exact same light, lost in the exact same worry, both convinced they're the one being watched. No one turned the spotlight on. There was never an audience in the seats. Buddhist teaching doesn't describe this as a flaw in other people. It describes something quieter, and in its own way kinder. Most of our suffering isn't given to us by the world. It's authored by the mind in private, and then mistaken for fact. A story walks in dressed as the truth, and we let it sit down at the table without ever asking for its name. Maybe this is one of the heaviest things we've carried without realizing it. Not the judgment of others, but the judgment we invented on their behalf and then spent decades trying to outrun. If that's true, even partly true, it raises a quieter question underneath it. If the audience was never really watching, who exactly were we performing for? And what might it mean now, after 60, after the performance has run this long, to finally feel the curtain settle and realize there's no one left in the seats to disappoint? That question alone is worth sitting with. But it isn't the only illusion we carried from those younger years. There's another one, quieter, more expensive, and it has to do with everything we once believed would finally make us feel like enough. Part 2. The things you buy end up owning your time. There's a particular kind of happiness we were promised when we were younger, and it always seemed to live one purchase away. A bigger house would finally feel like arriving. A finer car would finally feel like confidence. A little more, always just a little more, would finally feel like enough. So we reached for it. And we got it. And then something quiet happened that no one warned us about. The bigger house needed a roof repaired, A yard kept rooms heated and cooled and dusted whether anyone was living in them or not. The finer car needed care insurance, a place to park where nothing could touch it. The more we gathered, the more there was to track, to maintain, to lie awake, worrying about losing. It's worth asking gently without judgment, when did the thing meant to serve you start needing to be served? Imagine for a moment someone handed you 100 lanterns and told you this was wealth. At first it glows beautifully more light than you've ever held at once. But by evening, you're the one walking from lantern to lantern, refilling oil, trimming wicks, making sure none of them goes out. You didn't gain light. You gained 100 small duties, each one quietly asking for your evening. This is not an argument against having things. It's an old observation carried quietly through Buddhist thought for centuries that every possession comes with an invisible second half, a hidden cost in attention, in worry, in hours spent caring for the thing instead of living the life it was supposed to improve. So here is a question worth sitting with, not to answer quickly but to let settle. Are you the one holding these things? Or have they quietly taken hold of your time? Because time once spent maintaining an image doesn't come back. It doesn't refund itself the way money sometimes can. An evening given to worrying about a car is an evening that will never be lived twice. The tighter we close our hand around something, hoping to keep it, the less room that hand has left for anything else. A grandchild's drawing a cup of tea gone cold because the conversation mattered more, a moment with nothing to protect and nothing to prove. Grasping doesn't make us safer, it only narrows what we're free to reach for next. Which leads to something most of us were never taught to notice, not because anyone hid it from us, but because we were always too busy chasing the next thing to look closely at what we'd already spent to get the last one. The truest currency we've been spending all along was never money at all. Part 3. You can earn money back. You can never earn time back. There's an old habit most of us picked up without ever choosing it. In our younger years, we learned to trade time for money, an hour of work for a wage, a weekend given up for a bonus, years of our 20s and 30s spent earning towards some future that always stayed just out of reach. It seemed like a fair exchange at the time. Time felt endless. Money felt like the thing in short supply. After 60-something in that equation quietly reverses. Money, it turns out, can almost always be found again. A bad year can be followed by a better one. A loss can be earned back slowly, painfully, but it can be earned back. Time has never once worked that way. Picture water poured onto dry, sun-baked earth. Pour money there, and somehow given enough seasons, the ground finds a way to give some of it back. But pour time onto that same ground and it vanishes the instant it lands. No pooling, no trace, nothing left to draw from later. It doesn't sink in so you can dig it up again. It simply isn't there anymore. This is why a quiet Tuesday morning with nothing demanding to be solved can hold more value after 60 than another beautiful object ever could. Why an afternoon with no one to perform, for no appointment to keep, no opinion to manage, can feel richer than a moment of being admired ever did. Not because comfort stopped mattering, but because we finally understand what comfort actually costs. Ask anyone who has sat quietly with someone in their final months, held their hand, listened to what they wished they'd done differently, and they will tell you something that Buddhist teaching has pointed toward for centuries long. Before any of us were born to learn it the hard way, nothing holds. Still. Not health, not youth, not the people we love, not even this breath we're taking right now. Everything is already leaving the moment it arrives. That truth can sound bleak if you only hear the loss in it. But there's another way to hold it. If everything is already leaving, then what remains this morning? This conversation, this ordinary, unremarkable hour, isn't background noise to get through on the way to something better. It is the thing itself. It was always the thing itself. Maybe that's why so many people only once they pass 60 finally start guarding their hours the way they once guarded their savings, fiercely, carefully, as if they'd only just discovered which currency was real. Which leaves a harder question waiting just beneath the surface, one most of us have never asked ourselves honestly. If no one was watching and nothing needed proving, what would you actually choose to spend this remaining time on? Part 4. Some of what you only want because others are watching. Here's a small experiment worth trying quietly in your own mind. Take something you've wanted: the car, the house, the watch, the kind of reputation that makes a room go quiet when you walk in. Now imagine the same thing exactly as it is, except no one will ever know you have it. No one to admire the car in the driveway. No one to compliment the renovated kitchen. No one left to be impressed by the name people use when they speak of you. Ask yourself honestly, sitting alone with the question, would I still want it? For some things, the answer comes easily, almost peacefully. Yes. I'd still want comfort on a cold morning. I'd still want a home that keeps the rain out. That kind of wanting has nothing to do with anyone watching. But for other things, be patient with yourself here. This isn't an accusation. The answer arrives more quietly, almost embarrassed to be heard. No, not really. Not if no one ever saw it. There's an old kind of flame that doesn't burn for warmth. It burns only to be seen, burning bright, visible, admired from across the room. Cover that flame, completely hide it from every pair of eyes that might pass by, and something strange happens. It doesn't keep burning in the dark out of habit. It simply goes out on its own because warmth was never what it was reaching for. Being seen was the fuel all along. That's not a flaw unique to you. It's closer to a pattern teachers have pointed students toward for generations, often by asking exactly the question you just asked yourself. Not what do you want, but what do you want once. No one is left to witness the wanting. Because there's a real difference between a need and a performance of having met one. A need is quiet. It doesn't require an audience to feel satisfied. A performance, on the other hand, only feels complete once someone else has seen it and confirmed, yes, you have arrived, you are enough. And the exhausting part, the part almost no one says out loud, is that the performance never actually finishes. There's no final scene where the curtain closes and the applause settles you into rest. There's only the next car, the next renovation, the next person whose opinion suddenly seems to matter more than it should. If even a few of the things you've spent years chasing turned out to be costumes for that need to be witnessed, rather than things you actually wanted for their own sake, what would be left underneath all of it if the witnesses simply stopped coming? Part 5. Trying to impress people is a race that never ends. There's a particular kind of person almost everyone has met at least once. The one who always needs the next upgrade. The slightly bigger house after this one. The slightly newer car after this one. The kind of success that has to be proven again every season, like a license that keeps expiring. From the outside, it can look like ambition, drive. A person who simply refuses to stand still. But sit close enough to that life long enough, and you start to notice something underneath it, a low, constant hum of fear. Not fear of failing exactly, fear of being seen as less than they were last year, less impressive, less worth noticing. And here is the part almost no one warns you about when you're young and just beginning to climb. The line never moves to where you can finally rest. Picture someone standing in the ocean, dying of thirst and drinking the water around them to quench it. For a moment it feels like relief, wet, cool, almost satisfying. But seawater doesn't quench thirst. It deepens it. So they drink more, certain that more must be the answer, never once questioning whether the water itself was ever capable of solving the problem. That's what chasing the next upgrade can feel like decade after decade. Each new thing promises to finally be enough. Each one quietly leaves you thirstier than before, certain the next one will be different. This is one of the oldest observations Buddhist thought returns to again and again, in different words across different centuries. A craving fed by more of the same thing it craves does not shrink, it grows teeth. The achievement that was supposed to be the finish line turns out to be a doorway into a longer hallway, and at the end of that hallway another door exactly like the last one. Which is why the people who seem to carry the least weight in a room are rarely the ones with the most to show. They're the ones who quietly stopped running the race a long time ago, not because they failed at it and not because they gave up, but because somewhere along the way they stopped needing the room to confirm anything about who they were. That kind of person doesn't walk in trying to prove something. There's nothing left in them asking to be proven. And maybe that's a stranger, truer definition of wealth than the one most of us were raised on, not the size of what someone owns, but the absence of anything left inside them, still hungry to be admired. If that's true, it raises something worth sitting with quietly tonight after the noise of the day has settled. What exactly would be left of you if the need to be impressive simply stopped? Part 6. Attention always brings comparison, jealousy, and judgment. Almost everyone grows up believing the same thing: being noticed is a gift. To be seen, admired, talked about in a good way, surely that's a kind of arrival. No one warns you about what comes walking in right behind it. The moment people start noticing you, they start comparing you. To the neighbor with the newer car, to the sibling with the bigger house, to some version of success that exists only in their own head, which you're now being measured against without ever agreeing to the contest. And where there's comparison, envy tends to follow it home. Not always loud, rarely spoken aloud at all, but it sits there quietly in a slightly too careful compliment, in a question asked with a little too much interest behind it. And once envy arrives, judgment isn't far behind opinions about your choices that you never once asked for, offered freely, as if visibility were an invitation for everyone to weigh in on how you live. Think of a porch light left burning through a warm summer night. It was only meant to welcome someone home, to make the path a little easier to find in the dark. But light doesn't choose who it attracts. Within minutes, moths arrive, circling, beating softly against the glass. Not because anyone invited them, but because brightness by its very nature calls to whatever is drawn to it. The more the light burns, the more it gathers around itself, not just warmth, but every small winged thing with nowhere else to throw itself against. That is what attention does to a life more often than anyone admits. Buddhist teaching says this plainly, without much room for argument. Fame and the unrest that follows it are not two separate things that occasionally happen to meet. They arrive bound together like a single creature with two names. Wherever one is welcomed in, the other has already found the door. This isn't a reason to hide or to shrink yourself smaller than you are. It's simply an honest accounting of the cost, the part of the invoice that almost never gets shown to you in advance. And it explains something quietly beautiful that most people overlook entirely: why so much real peace tends to live in the places almost no one is watching. The kitchen table at 9 in the morning, no one home to judge what's cooking. The garden tended for no audience at all. The long walk, no one photographed, no one praised, no one compared to anyone else's walk. Peace, it turns out, rarely thrives under a porch light. It tends to grow in the quiet corners, where nothing was ever lit up for anyone else to see. Which raises a question some people spend their entire youth running away from, and only later, much later, find themselves running gratefully toward. What might it actually feel like to finally stop being looked at? Part 7. Being invisible is a gift, not a loss. There's a sentence many older people say out loud at some point, almost always a little quietly, almost always when they think, no one else is listening, no one notices me anymore. It's usually said like a wound, a diagnosis of having become less than before, less seen, less needed, less anything. But there's an old story, the kind passed down without anyone remembering exactly where it began, about a farmer who grew too old to work his own fields. He had spent his whole life being useful in a way everyone could measure: rows planted, harvests counted, a reputation built on what the land produced because of him. And then one season his hands could no longer do the work, so he simply sat on his porch instead, day after day, with nothing expected of him and no one watching to see whether he'd earned his place that morning. For a long while that silence felt like loss. Then one ordinary afternoon he noticed a single wild strawberry growing by the steps, small, unplanted, owed to no one's effort. He picked it. He ate it slowly. And it was somehow the most delicious thing he had tasted in years. Not because the strawberry was special, because for the first time in decades no one was grading the harvest. There was nothing to prove about that strawberry, no one to impress with how he ate it. He could simply taste it. That's the part almost no one mentions about being looked at less. When the expectations finally go quiet, when there's no longer a role to perform, no image to maintain for an audience that stopped checking in, something else becomes available that was never available before. You can wear the old sweater you actually love, instead of the one that photographs well. You can spend a Tuesday however the day genuinely wants to be spent, instead of however it would look to someone watching from outside. You can finally stop rehearsing the version of yourself meant for other people, simply because the curtain has quietly come down and no one's left checking whether you hit your mark. It can feel at first like disappearing, but there's another way to hold it. One Buddhist thought has gently pointed toward for a long time. What we call the self is largely a costume sewn together from other people's glances, built stitch by stitch to be looked at, judged, approved of. Loosen that costume, and what's underneath isn't emptiness, it's just you. Maybe for the first time since childhood, actually you. So perhaps becoming less visible to others isn't where a person quietly fades. Perhaps it's the first morning anyone has ever fully arrived. And if that's true, if invisibility to the world could really be an arrival rather than a disappearance, there's still one more question worth sitting with before we close this thought. What's the difference really between something you own and something you merely wear for other people to see? Part 8. Keep what helps your life. Drop what only helps your image. There are two ways to buy almost anything, and most of us were never taught to tell them apart. The first way is simple, almost boring to describe. You buy something because it makes the actual hours of your life a little easier to live. A chair that doesn't hurt your back, a coat that keeps the cold out on the walk to the car, a kitchen tool that saves your hands the trouble. The second way looks identical at the checkout counter, but it's reaching for something else entirely. You're not buying ease. You're buying how the thing will make you appear to a neighbor, a sibling, a version of yourself you're hoping someone finally notices. Both purchases can sit on the same shelf. Only one of them is actually working for you. Picture two bridges built across the same river. One is made of real stone, set deep into the riverbed, built to carry real weight. You can walk across it at midnight in a storm, and it will hold. The other looks identical from the riverbank. Same arch, same color stone painted with extraordinary care, onto a flat board propped up at the water's edge. From a distance, no one can tell the difference. But try to cross it. Try to actually put your weight on it when you need it to hold you, and it gives way to nothing. It was never built to carry anyone. It was only ever built to be looked at. So much of what fills a life after 60 falls into one of those two categories. Some of it is stone quietly doing its job, asking for nothing, simply holding you up when you need it. And some of it is paint on a board, beautiful from the right angle, useless the moment you actually lean on it. This isn't a call to own less out of guilt or to live smaller out of some idea that wanting things is wrong. Contemplative teaching has never asked anyone to hate what they own. It only asks a quieter, more honest question: does this serve the life, or does it only serve the look of the life? After 60, that question stops being philosophical and starts being practical. There's less time now to carry weight that was never load-bearing in the first place. Less patience for maintaining a painted bridge that was never going to hold anyone up, least of all you on the night you actually needed it to. So perhaps the real sorting, the one worth doing slowly room by room, isn't about owning less. It's about finally being honest with yourself, item by item, about which bridges were built from stone and which ones were only ever painted to be admired from the shore. Because once you can finally tell the difference, a much larger question starts to open up underneath it. If image was never the point, what was real luxury supposed to look like all along? Part 9. Real wealth is a mind that feels nothing is missing. Ask most people what luxury looks like, and they'll describe the same handful of things almost on reflex. A bigger house, a beautiful car, a watch worth more than some people's monthly wage. But there's a quieter kind of luxury that rarely makes it onto anyone's list, mostly because it doesn't photograph well, and no one can show it off at dinner. Sleeping through the night without waking at 3 in the morning, mind racing, owing nothing to anyone. Having an actual afternoon to give to someone you love instead of an apology for not having one. Being able to say no and feel no guilt trailing behind it. Sitting alone in a quiet room and feeling somehow completely at ease there. Picture two homes standing side by side. One is a fortress, high walls, heavy locks, a guard posted at the gate through the night, an alarm wired into every window. Inside, the owner lies awake anyway, listening for footsteps that might not be there because there is so much inside worth losing. That peace itself became one more thing requiring protection. The other home has a door that's rarely even locked. Nothing inside it would be worth the trouble of stealing, and the person sleeping there sleeps completely deeply without once listening for footsteps in the dark, not because they're careless, but because there's nothing left inside them demanding to be guarded. Which house really holds the richer life? This is closer to what older Buddhist teaching meant by wealth, long before anyone needed a fortress to understand it. Real richness was never about how much sits inside the walls. It's about how little the mind feels it's missing. A person who needs nothing more to feel complete can walk past every fortress in the world and feel no smaller for it. A person who feels endlessly short of something can stand inside the largest house ever built and still feel quietly poor. That's the strange arithmetic almost no one teaches us when we're young, that the size of what you own and the size of what you lack are two completely separate numbers, and only one of them actually determines how peaceful your nights are. After 60, with fewer years left to spend chasing the wrong number, that distinction tends to matter more than it ever did before. Maybe real luxury was never something you could put a price on, hang in a driveway, or wear on a wrist for others to notice. Maybe it was always something closer to a held breath finally released, a kind of fullness that doesn't ask anything more of the world, doesn't need anyone else's eyes to confirm it's real. And if that kind of wealth has nothing to do with what's written on a deed or a title, it raises one last, quieter question. When all of it is finally gone, the house, the watch, the name people used to know you, by what's actually left for anyone to remember? Part 10. People remember how you made them feel, not what you owned. There's a moment that comes for every life eventually, whether we like to think about it or not. A room much later where people who loved you try to find the right words to describe what you meant to them. No one in that room reaches for the car you drove. No one mentions the watch on your wrist, or how many rooms your house held, or what the number on a deed used to say about how far you'd come. What they reach for instead is smaller and somehow far heavier. Whether you were kind when kindness cost you something, whether you actually listened or just waited for your turn to speak, how being near you made them feel calmer or smaller, safer or always slightly on guard. Drop a stone into still water, and within seconds the stone itself is gone, sunk invisible, already forgotten by the surface that swallowed it. But the ripple it made keeps traveling long after the stone has disappeared, moving outward in widening circles, touching the edges of the pond, reaching the reeds, the far bank things the stone itself never came anywhere close to. No one standing at the shore remembers the stone's weight or its color or what it cost. They remember the ripple. They felt the ripple. That, as plainly as it can be said, is what a life leaves behind, not the object, not the price. The disturbance it made in the people standing nearby, whether it was gentle, whether it widened outward instead of pulling everything toward itself. So perhaps the things worth gathering this late in the story were never the things that could be photographed at all. Health, while there's still time left to use it well. The people who are still near enough to call, to sit with, to actually look in the eye instead of glancing past on the way to somewhere more important. The hours themselves spent, rather than spent proving something, and underneath all of it, a kind of stillness in the mind that doesn't depend on anyone walking by to notice it. None of that will ever sit in a driveway. None of it can be admired from across a room. But it's the only part of you that was ever going to outlast the room. Maybe that's the quiet, almost embarrassingly simple thing we spend most of a lifetime circling without ever quite arriving at that. The ripple was always the point, and the stone was only ever the excuse to make one. And maybe if that's true, there's really only one honest question left now after everything we've turned over together in this talk. If none of it was ever about being seen, what might the rest of your life look like lived for no audience at all? There is a particular kind of evening that comes sooner or later to almost everyone who has spent a life trying to be enough for someone else's eyes. The performing finally quiets. The audience, real or imagined, has wandered off to worry about something else, the way audiences always eventually do. What's left in that stillness isn't emptiness. It's just a person sitting somewhere ordinary. A porch, a kitchen table, the edge of a bed at the end of a long day with nothing left to prove, and for once nothing missing either. Maybe that's where all of this was leading. Not toward more. Not toward being seen. Toward a kind of quiet. Most of us spent decades avoiding mistaking it for loneliness, when it was only ever room to finally hear your own life without anyone else's voice laid over it. Somewhere, even now, the ripple from a stone dropped years ago is still widening outward, touching shores it will never know it reached. You were never the stone. You were always the ripple. And whatever today still holds an ordinary afternoon, an empty house, a phone that doesn't ring as often as it used to, maybe that's no longer something to mourn. Maybe it's simply the sound of a performance finally ending, and a real life quieter than the one you used to perform settling in to stay.